Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, September 11th. A lot going on in the world of weather, both here across the U.S. and in the tropics. Today will be a hot day in the Mid-Atlantic region, the hottest day of the week, perhaps the last 90-degree day in many Mid-Atlantic locations, as a strong cool front will bring big changes to the region by Friday. Very hot today, but then very cool on Friday and Saturday, and in between, as you might expect, there may very well be some strong thunderstorms, especially late tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. Some of those storms that form along that frontal system could contain heavy downpours, gusty winds, and frequent lightning. Well, before we get to the local weather scene, let's take a look at the tropics. A lot of areas of interest right now, and indeed we do have our first hurricane of the season. We talked about this yesterday. Humberto in the far eastern Atlantic has indeed become the first hurricane of the 2013 season. That makes it the only 2 seasons with the first hurricane coming this late in the season. This year and 2002 with Hurricane Gustav were the 2 seasons that waited until just about the climatological halfway point of the tropical season to have an actual hurricane. Here is Humberto right now. It's much closer to Africa than it is the U.S. It's barely a hurricane status, sustained winds at 75 miles per hour, but indeed it has become the first hurricane of the 2013 season. It will stay out over the water, obviously, for several days to come. Can't write it off completely for the U.S. It's unlikely to ever affect the U.S., but we'll monitor it for a while. It'll turn to the north and then turn to the west, and so we'll continue to monitor. But here's Humberto, just west of the Cape Verde Islands, the first hurricane of the season. There's a couple other areas of interest as well. Here is Tropical Storm Gabrielle right here. It looks like that did affect Bermuda overnight with some strong winds. I saw wind gusts as high as 68 miles per hour on Bermuda. It's headed northward as a tropical storm, likely to affect the Atlantic maritime provinces here over the weekend as a tropical storm. Does not look like that will become or reach hurricane status. A couple other areas of interest. Here's one area right here that will have to be monitored. An even more impressive area right here in the western part of the Caribbean, now over the eastern part of the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. That will very likely move over the Gulf of Mexico waters in the next few days and perhaps intensify, reaching tropical storm status. If so, it would be named Ingrid. It looks like its heavy rain will go into the southern part of Texas, down into the northeastern part of Mexico over the next few days. And we'll see in a moment there's a little bit of a circulation right here. We'll look on a closer viewpoint in a moment, but there's kind of an interesting circulation going on right here. Again, this is Tropical Storm Gabrielle right here, but there's something of interest right in this region, tucked in right along the southeastern U.S. coast. So the tropics are certainly active right now after a very quiet first half of the season. Well, here's a close-up view using some GOES satellite imagery, both combination of visible and IR. A close-up view of Hurricane Humberto, the first hurricane of the season. You kind of see in the last frame here, right in that region, right there, there's some possibility that an eye is starting to form again. It's a minimal hurricane right now, Category 1, sustained winds at 75 miles per hour. But indeed, it's starting to develop an eye, could intensify a little bit more as it continues on a basic north to northwest track over the next several days, way out in the far eastern part of the Atlantic. Again, much closer to Africa than it is to the U.S. Well, speaking of the U.S., a lot going on here as well. This is the latest surface map across the continental U.S. A couple of cool fronts seen here. There's one frontal system here and a couple on its heels, and really these will all kind of catch up and consolidate into one strong cool frontal system that will head towards the east coast in this region by late tomorrow night, early Friday morning, sweep away all this heat, and the transition from the hot weather today to the much cooler than normal weather on Friday will indeed likely spark some strong thunderstorms in the Mid-Atlantic I-95 corridor late tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. Some of the storms that form can contain gusty winds, frequent lightning, and some torrential downpours. There is a chance for a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon into the evening hours on Wednesday here in the Mid-Atlantic region, but the better chance will come later on tomorrow with the arrival of this strong cool frontal system. Elsewhere in the country, much cooler conditions continue today in the southern Rockies, and a real fetch of moist air coming from the subtropics into the southern Rockies. They may get 1 to 2 or more inches of rain in parts of the southwestern U.S., southern Rockies over the next couple of days. And high temperatures in Denver, for example, will struggle to reach 70 degrees. That follows the 90s that they experienced over the weekend and last week. It'll stay cool also right along the coastal region of Southern California for the next couple of days before there's a slight warm-up there as we approach the weekend. Well, here's the current GOES imagery infrared satellite loop from the SSEC Wisconsin website. We mentioned another area of interest, pointed out 5 different areas in the tropics, and here's that other area of interest that we'll have to monitor over the next several hours. It's right near the southeast U.S. coast, but a little bit of a circulation obviously showing up right here with some development, some convective aspect to this. This is Tropical Storm Gabrielle right here. That's kind of pulling away to the north, again, towards Nova Scotia and the rest of the Atlantic Canadian maritime provinces. But this circulation has to be watched over the next several hours. Down here, you can see just the edge of the imagery loop here. The next disturbance to watch that could become a tropical storm, Ingrid. This is a disturbance headed over the Yucatan Peninsula. Will spill out over into the Gulf of Mexico and then spread some heavy rains from South Texas down into the northeastern part of Mexico. As the center of it should pass into Mexico, staying south of Texas. However, some of the heavy rain certainly can affect the southern part of Texas from that particular tropical system. Here is a cloud band associated with the developing cool frontal system. Again, there's a couple other inputs of cooler air that will consolidate into one real strong cool frontal system. Very warm today in the Mid-Atlantic region, but much cooler come Friday and Saturday. Saturday we'll see temperatures struggle to reach 70 degrees in most Mid-Atlantic I-95 corridor locations. Well, let's take a look at some computer forecast maps for the next couple of days, focusing on the strong cool frontal system that will head to the East Coast by late tomorrow night into early Friday. This is the forecast map for this evening from last night's 0Z GFS model run. Again, some scattered, spotty shower and thunderstorm activity from the I-95 corridor and north and west later on this afternoon into the evening hours. Not a widespread event by any stretch of the imagination. A better chance comes later on tomorrow afternoon into the early evening associated with that strong cold front. Well, here is the precipitation out in the southern Rockies. Again, 1 to 2 inches of rain could fall anywhere out there in New Mexico and Colorado over the next 12 to 24 hours or so, as it's also combines with much cooler temperatures than they experienced a week ago, with high temperatures struggling today to reach 70 degrees in Denver. Well, here's the forecast map for tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. Cool frontal system now cutting through the Ohio Valley on its way to the East Coast. Most likely a rain-free period late tonight into the first part of tomorrow as that cool front approaches the East Coast. We'll be watching on radar showers and thunderstorms to our west and northwest during the morning hours, and they will likely move in sometime during the afternoon, probably mid to late afternoon, and lasting into the early evening hours. Here's the cool Canadian high pressure system that will sweep all of this heat off the East Coast by Friday and indeed usher in a unseasonably cool air mass into the northeastern part of the country. Here's the forecast map for Thursday evening. This is the time where the cool front will be right along the East Coast over the I-95 corridor. There can be some strong thunderstorms containing gusty winds, torrential downpours, brief downpours, and some frequent lightning, primarily from mid to late afternoon through the early part of the evening along the I-95 corridor. Strong Canadian high pressure following on its heels with a strong northerly flow at this time by tomorrow evening over the Great Lakes, and we'll see all of that shift into the east come Friday. In fact, let's now jump ahead to Friday morning's forecast map. And here it is for Friday morning. That by this time the cool front is off the East Coast, and the dominating feature here is a strong Canadian high pressure just on north of the Great Lakes region. Look at this screaming northerly flow here into the northeastern part of the country, all the way from the Ohio Valley towards to the East Coast. There'll be a breezy day on Friday with a mix of clouds and sun. Cannot rule out a couple of showers. There'll be some instability showers, especially up in the mountainous regions, for example, in northern and western Pennsylvania. Some of those showers could spill out over into the I-95 corridor. A mix of clouds and sun, breezy and much cooler on Friday. High temperatures in the 70s compared to the 90s from today. And on Saturday, it'll be a downright football-like weather pattern with high temperatures struggling to reach 70 degrees, even in the big cities of D.C. and Philadelphia, for example, on Saturday afternoon. So a lot going on in the tropics and across the U.S. with a battle of air masses that could produce some strong thunderstorms later on tomorrow into tomorrow evening along the I-95 corridor. That's it for now. For the SIWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.